I know you're Scott Calvin. You know you're Scott Calvin. So let's make this simple. I say name, you say Scott Calvin. Name.
Subscribe! Oh, that's good stuff. Took me over 1,200 years to get right. What's the meaning of Christmas? It's a question that's asked time and time again, despite there being a very obvious answer. Buying tacky and pointless crap from big corporations in America that will eventually monopolize the marketplace.
Hey, this guy's a commie!
Oh, sorry. I mean, yeah, technically okay, it's about the birth and savior of our Lord Jesus Christ, so I suppose you could say it's just a big birthday party. But it's not just Christians that celebrate Christmas. I mean, the writer of White Christmas was Jewish, and when questioned about why he wrote a Christmas song when he's Jewish, he said, Christmas isn't a Christian holiday, it's an American holiday. In fact, not being a practicing theist myself, I'm searched to look for the meaning of Christmas in other places. For example, in the 1994 family Christmas film, The Santa Claus. Now, before people in the comments section start screaming at me, saying, The Santa Claus isn't the best Christmas film, the best Christmas film is insert random Christmas nostalgia-inducing film here. What I would say is, Christmas films are a bit like a favorite color. I mean, there's no real wrong answer to what your favorite color is. Well, except for beige. Who likes beige? Anyway, the Santa Claus. Yes, the Santa Claus. Right, okay. What do I like about it? Well, the first thing I like about it is it's got a really punny title. Get it? The Santa Claus, you know, it's got an E on there. You know, because it isn't the Santa Claus, it's the Santa Claus. That's right. The E matters. And that's what differentiates this film from all the other Yuletide offerings. You see, this Santa Claus, the Santa Claus with the E, is all about obligation. It's about the legal obligation that Scott Calvin has when he puts on the red fluffy suit, essentially signing a contract to become Santa. But more importantly, it's the obligation that he has to his son. At the beginning of the film, Scott Calvin is very much playing second fiddle to his son Charlie's stepdad, Neil, played by Judge Reinhold. Judge, Santa Claus. There's a joke here somewhere, I know there is. The stepdad, Neil, perfectly fits into what seems like the only two acceptable film archetypes of a stepfather. He can either be a macho cop-type alpha male, or he can be a Ned Flanders type like Cary Elwes in Liar Liar.
Oh, the claw's coming at you. Oh, you're scared of the claw. You're scared of the claw. Ooh.
Jerry.
Unfortunately, or fortunately I suppose, depends on how you look at it, Neil fits the Jerry mold. Somewhat predictably, the existence of Neil and Charlie's apparent preference for the puppy-eyed smile merchant rubs Scott the wrong way. It seems everything that the future Santa Claus does is different from what his ex-partner's new partner is doing. And doesn't Charlie love reminding him of it? I will add, however, it's important to note that these feelings that Scott's feeling of jealousy are very, very natural. Just having these feelings isn't unusual, and it definitely isn't what makes him a flawed character. However, it can be seen as a manifestation of him being aware of, or simply not wanting to admit to himself, what his flaw is. In truth, he's his own worst enemy when it comes to his relationship with Charlie at the beginning of the film. The father-son bond is strained, and it seems to be moving in the same direction as his marriage clearly did. The main issue that's presented seems to be that he's a workaholic. Well, at least he puts his work first. Yet another trope for this film. Alright, before we go any further, I think I'll just give a little bit of context to why I love this film so much. Because the themes within the film that I'm analyzing in this video, I do love it for those reasons. But I think, obviously, nostalgia is caught up in that, and there's also another factor to that as well. Growing up, I had a really good relationship with my father. And the two shows that I remember vividly from my childhood watching with him were Seinfeld and Home Improvement. Now, Home Improvement stars Tim Allen, obviously. It stars Tim Allen with 3 sons. I had 2 brothers, so there was 3 of us. Tim Allen's wife, Tim the Toolman Taylor's wife in the show, is called Jill. My mother is called Jill. So I have a real affinity with Tim Allen. Now I know drug trafficking, I know. But I have a real affinity with him no matter what. It's sort of his film persona. I have an affinity with that. What he is like as a real man, I don't know. But that's an affinity I have with him. Even my father's voice was the same tone as Tim Allen. Now, unfortunately, my father passed away in 2009. And watching Tim Allen in films gives me this weird existential experience, which I can't explain. But I can tell you, one way when it manifested was, I went with my brother to watch Jerry Seinfeld live in his I'm Telling You for the Last Time tour, or whatever it was called. And the whole hour and a half that he was on the stage, it was like a fever dream for me. Now, Jerry Seinfeld for me doesn't look like my father, doesn't sound like my father, doesn't sound like my father like Tim Allen did. But there was a real fever dream that I was having, and the whole thing was like an existential out-of-body experience where I was a child again, and I was with my father again, and I can't explain it. It was really weird. That's a bit of context to my love of this film. I don't have that same feeling in the Santa Claus 2 and 3, which I'll talk about later. But I do have that feeling for the Santa Claus 1. And that's probably the main reason why I love this film so much. Having said that, let's analyze some more themes. Back to it. As the film plays out, Scott grows into his role as the father of all fathers, Father Christmas himself. It is this transition to Santa Claus which not only leads Scott to becoming less of a workaholic, but it also proves to be the driving force behind the strengthening of his relationship with Charlie. Having said that though, in the beginning, Scott is not a willing participant in his transformation. It's Charlie who needs to continuously remind him that the events of Christmas Eve really did occur. I mean, I'd probably take a long time to believe it too. Even the new pajamas weren't enough to convince him. You see, Scott is too grown up. He doesn't believe in the magic of Christmas anymore. He thinks Christmas is just something that kids believe in for a bit, and then they grow out of it. Unfortunately for Scott, he doesn't live in the real world. This non-belief is something which at the beginning of the film means that he wants to cater to it for Charlie. He wants to have Santa be real for Charlie, in a very grown-up, talking to a child kind of way. You see, for Scott, with Charlie, things are different. Scott is the father, and Charlie is the son. They are the roles that Scott is trying to conform to, and therefore he's not able to cope when he realizes that Charlie's starting to grow up. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't view his relationship with Charlie as an equal one. It's a parent-child relationship. I suppose you could say that he doesn't respect that Charlie is his own person yet. Now, I know Charlie's like 6 or something in this film, but I think a lot of us in our 20s and 30s can identify with that. It takes parents a long time to start seeing you as an adult in your own right. Neil and Laura, the stepdad and Charlie's mom, are the complete opposite to Scott. They're trying to force Charlie to grow up. They're telling them that it's for children, Santa Claus and magic. They're telling him that he'd be silly to believe in that. They themselves have stopped believing. Now, to be fair to them, they are actually trying to have an equal footing with Charlie in terms of their relationship, unlike Scott. They're trying to bond and become equal with the son by bringing him up to them, which is causing him to stop believing in things, stop believing in magic, and being less of a child. Now, this is why I love this film. Because throughout the film, we see Scott and Charlie's relationship get closer and closer. However, it's not because Scott starts to view Charlie as a grown-up, and it's not because Scott tries to force him to grow up before he's ready. It's because Scott and Charlie start to respect each other, because Scott starts to remember his inner child. He starts to believe in the magic of Christmas again. And therefore, he joins his son at his son's level. Not making him do anything too early, not making him grow up too soon, just being with his son in that moment. In other words, Scott grows to Charlie, not the other way around. In fact, later on in the film, Neil and Laura eventually do the same thing. Whenever they start to buy into Santa, Neil's hilarious. Santa? As again, the Jerry mold. Now, obviously, this film has a lot more to offer than just the father-son relationship. The way that the North Pole is realized is fantastic. The elves are charming, colorful, and compelling. Tim Allen brings his comedic style to the role in a timeless way, which in my opinion rivals Will Ferrell as Buddy the Elf.
Supposed to drink that milk.
The seriousness that the score and soundtrack give to the magic of Christmas is refreshing and ensures that the audience doesn't take the deeper moments of the film for granted. All in all, this film is a banger. For me, The Santa Claus, with an E, is going to go down as one of the most successful and best Christmas films of all time. Well, I know I'll be watching it every year. Quick word on the sequels. So for some godforsaken reason, almost a decade after they released the first one, they decided to release 2 more. And let's just say this time they were not good.
I've got to get married?
Yes, it's Mrs. Claus.
I don't think there's a woman out there that doesn't want a piece of this.
For me, the sequels can be perfectly explained by comparing them to the Saw franchise. The first one was genuinely well made, and you could tell that there was a lot of care and attention went into it. And then the producers saw dollar signs. I mean, the Saw franchise is still going. Spiral is an upcoming American horror film. It's the 9th installment in the Saw franchise, and it stars Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. Whoa, this could actually be pretty good. In conclusion, if there's a lesson to be learned from Scott Calvin's journey to becoming a better father, it's this. Respect your children. Respect that they are the age that they are, and don't rush them into growing up. Being a child is magical, and I think more adults should embrace the imagination and wonder of their kids, as Scott did in this film. Lose your inhibitions to meet your children at their level. I mean, sure, sometimes it takes going out on a limb, doing something that you wouldn't normally do. Sometimes you've just got to put on a Santa suit to convince your children that the Christmas magic is real, no matter how much it continually feels like it isn't. That's what I've learned from the Santa Claus, and that's what I try to live every day.
Who is it, Dad? Is it Santa?